Shalom. This is Brother Kasha Kwala coming back at you with another lesson, giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Achakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone to rule and teach well. Peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. Today is going to be an overview. All right. It's going to be an overview of the book of Jonah, the first chapter. All right. So before I start, I'm going to get the word overview. All right. Here's the word overview. The word overview is a noun, and it means a survey or a summary, all right, or inspection, supervision. So I'm going to do an inspection or a summary or a synopsis of Jonah, the first chapter. The reason I call it an overview and not a breakdown, just me personally, I leave the breakdowns to my elders at my camp and the apostles and elders of Great Millstone to, do the breakdowns. I'll do an overview from what I learned from these men. That's just me. Any other brother can do a breakdown, but me, I do an overview just to get the basis and the synopsis of what's being told in in this specific chapter. Now, what I'm gonna go into is gonna be a very literal type overview. This is what happened. This is what it is. Just so you can get the basis and the ground level to where you should start when reading Jonah chapter 1. You see? Then the Lord will add unto you the spiritual aspects of things. Okay? So without further ado, I'm gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna get in some of the history of Jonah. And this book that was, that we're reading right here in Jonah 1, the time frame was around like 90 BC. 790 BC, I'm sorry. It was during around like 790 BC. He was during Jonah was on the scene during King Jeroboam. All right, not the first one, but the second one. All right, if I'm not mistaken, Jeroboam the second. So without further ado, is Jonah 1:1. It says, "Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying," all right. So we're gonna deal with that first verse right there, and the word Jonah means dove. Let's get it into Hebrew. If I'm not mistaken, it's like Yawana. Yahweh Naha. So Yawana. Alright. So it means dove. Alright. So let's get where Jonah is mentioned in the scripts. This is 2 Kings chapter 14 verse 25. It says, "He restored the coast of Israel from the entering of Hamath unto the sea of the plain, according to the word of the Lord of Israel, which he spake by the hand of the servant Jonah, the son of Amittai, the prophet, which was of Gath-Hepher." All right. So how do I know this is during the time of Jeroboam? It's right here in verse 23. "In the 15th year of Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, began to reign in Samaria, and reigned for 41 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, and departed from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made his Israel to sin, Salakia." So he was during the year of Amaziah, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so let's see. In the 15th year of Amaziah, the son of Joash. All right, it's right there. So let's go back to Jonah 1:1. All right. So again, it says, now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah the son of Amittai, saying, all right, so I'm going to get one more precept. Let's go to the book of Matthew. Let's see, verse 12, chapter 12. Start at verse 39. Matthew 12:39, it says, but he answered and said unto them, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it but the sign of the prophet Jonas. So she's speaking of Jonah. For Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly. I'm just bringing this out because Yahushua mentioned Jonah. All right, that's how you know Yahushua read the old scripts. All right, so it says, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. You see, it says, the men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this generation and shall condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonas, and behold, a greater than Jonas is here, which is Yahushua. You see that? So, going on back to Jonah chapter 1, this is verse 2. It says, arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me. See, their wickedness came up before the Lord. All right, so let me get Isaiah 37:37, and then I'm gonna read a little something about Nineveh. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 37 verse 37. So I'm gonna start at 36 because this was during the time of King Hezekiah, when Sennacherib came up against them. All right, that's when, when you read about it, it was talking a lot of smack. They was talking a lot of smack to Israel, talking about how they took down all these other nations, and these other nations were crying up to their powers, but their power didn't do shit. Well, let's see what our power did. Isaiah 37:36. Then the angel of the Lord went forth and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. That's 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt in Nineveh. Now to the Assyrians, Nineveh was like their chief city, like the capital city. It was very flourishing, you could say. Had a lot of riches and stuff there. So this is a Nineveh. It says it's an ancient capital city of the Assyrian Empire. It was founded by Nimrod. So we understand we have to get the origins of Nineveh real quick. So I'm gonna go to Genesis the 10th chapter real quick. All right. So this is Genesis 10:8. It says, and Cush begot Nimrod. So we understand that Nineveh was the capital city of the Assyrians, and it was founded by Nimrod. All right. It says he began to be a mighty one in the earth. Right. It says he was a mighty hunter before the Lord, wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter of the Lord. Verse 10, in the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Out of the land went forth Ashur, and builded Nineveh. Okay. In the city Rehoboth and Calah. All right, now you see this Ashur. We know the Ashur is the Assyrians when you look at the table of the nations, and they are Shemitic actually when you go down in Genesis. Okay, they came out of the line of Shem. It says, because it says out of that land went forth Ashur. doesn't mean that they're Hamitic. All right, and building Nineveh. So the Assyrians built Nineveh, but it stemmed all the way back from Nimrod. All right, and you can find that in Genesis 10, which I just read. So it says, but it's best known in the Bible as the place associated with Jonah's ministry, of course, because the Lord told him to go arise and go to Nineveh, the great city, and cry against it, and prophesy against it. All right. So it says, several centuries before Jonah's preaching ministry to the city, Nineveh became one of the royal residences of the Assyrian kings, as we just read in Isaiah 37 and 37. That's where a top king of the Assyrians went back, fled back to Nineveh. All right, that's where they dwelt. So again, it says Nineveh became one of the royal residencies of Assyrian kings. Sennacherib, which this individual right here, which you can also read about him, I think in the Chronicles and in the Kings, when you read about King Hezekiah, he ruled from like 705 BC to 681. So it says he made it the capital of the Assyrian Empire to offset the rival capital of Khorsabad. It says built that city was built by his father Sargon II, which he ruled in 722 BC to like 705 BC. So Sennacherib, he greatly beautified and adorned Nineveh. It says the splendid temples, palaces, and fortifications, if I'm saying that right, made it the chief city of the empire. All right, it made that the chief city of the Assyrian. Let me go to 2 Kings real quick. All right, just to get a little bit more info on Nineveh. It says the same. See, yeah, this is what I was talking about. So Isaiah 37 and 37 and 2 Kings 19 and 35 and 36 say the same thing. All right, because when Sennacherib came against Hezekiah, Hezekiah sought out Isaiah to get counsel from. All right, that's why you got to know what time frames these prophets were in. That will help you better understand. Like, I know when we go on the highways and byways, we preach it, and we bring these precepts out of the book of Isaiah and Jeremiah and things of that nature to our time frame, into our eon or age. But you got to realize who they were actually writing to, who they were talking to. They were in their time frame, you see. So when Jonah was on the scene right here, he was during the scene, the Assyrians, okay, and he went to go preach against Nineveh at that time, who also was during this time, a little after Jonah, Tobit. When you read the book of Tobit, they were in the Assyrian time frame as well. All right. So let's jump back to Jonah 1 and 2. It says, "Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness has come up before thee." So we understand. We got a little understanding on Nineveh by going to Genesis 10 and 11 and seeing where it stemmed from. Also, we understand that Nineveh was the chief city of the Assyrians, according to 2 Kings 19 and 36, and also Isaiah 37 and 37. All right. So he had to prophesy against this for the wickedness that has come up from it. All right. So let's go to Zephaniah. Let's go to Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 13. All right. It says, and he will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, and will make Nineveh a desolation and dry like a wilderness. You see, even Zephaniah prophesied against Nineveh. All right. Zephaniah was during about like 630 BC. A little before. I think what's that? A little after, if I'm not mistaken. let's see. Yeah, he was a little after Jonah. He was a little after Jonah. He would have been like during the transition from the Assyrians to the Babylonians. Zephaniah would be. All right. So he prophesied the same thing, the downfall of Nineveh. And when you read the book of Tobit, the last chapter, I think it's like the 14th chapter. I think it's the 14th chapter. Let's see. I got my apocrypha right here. I think it's the last chapter of Tobit. Yep, 14th chapter. Okay, Tobit chapter. Matter of fact, I'll read it since we're speaking about Nineveh right now. All right. Let's go to Tobit, chapter 14. And all the way to the last verse. It says, but before he died, before who died? Tobias. He heard of the destruction of Nineveh, which was taken by Nebuchadnezzar in Assuerus, if I'm saying that correctly. And before his death, he rejoiced over Nineveh. So ultimately, the prophecy that Jonah and Zephaniah prophesied about happened during the time of Tobias in the book of Tobit. All right, Zephaniah 2 and 13 and Jonah 1 and 2 came to pass in Tobit chapter 14 and 15. All right, so let's continue to verse 3. It says, but Jonah arose up to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. And the thing about it, you can't run from the Lord. And we're gonna get into that though. And went down to Joppa, and he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof and went down into it to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Now, the key thing I want to note out in this is Joppa. Joppa was a major Israelite seaport on the Mediterranean. All right. When you go into today's, let's see, if you go into today's, all right, let me see, get my keyboard real quick. If you go into today's, what it would be today. That's not what I wanted. The keyboard be tripping sometimes, so like you. All right. It would be this city today, Jaffa or Jaffa. All right. In Hebrew, you know that shit's off. I think it says the Hebrew is Yapa. As a matter of fact, let's look at what it says in what Joppa or Joppa is in Hebrew. It means beautiful, so it would be like Yapa. All right. So Salakia. So going back, this is where it would be at today. As you can see, it's on the coast. And when you go into the history of Joppa, it was Israel's major seaport in the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, let's see if we can get a map location. You see that? Right there. And yeah, right there. It's right next to that gay ass city, Tel Aviv. And all this right here. See, you got Cyprus. If I'm not mistaken, there was an individual from Cyprus. Let me go to Acts, the 3rd chapter, real quick. All that blue area is the Mediterranean. All right. Let's go to... Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm going to find who was from Cyprus. All right. Barnabas, a Levite. He was from the country of Cyprus, which is in Acts 4:36. All right. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show y'all real quick. He was from this area right here, but this is in the Mediterranean. And Barnabas was one of the individuals who was rolling with Paul, which we're gonna be in the book of Acts today too. All right. It says, in Josie, who by the apostles was surnamed Barnabas, which is being interpreted the son of consolation, a Levite, and from the country of Cyprus. So he was right here. You see where Joppa would be today, next to that gay ass city, Tel Aviv, and the fucking Jew rats goddamn tainted that whole area. That's why Yahweh Shai is gonna come back according to 2nd Ezra 13 and cleanse not just that one little spot, but all of this, that Middle East area gonna be cleansed. All right, and for you, you know, you flat earthers, you can see the earth is a circle, but that's neither here nor there. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to you know, the lesson at hand. So we understand why he went to Joppa, because it was a major seaport. As you can see, he paid the funds to get onto a ship to go to Tarshish. All right. So Joppa was one of a major, you know, seaport or trading port for the Israelites at that time. You know, trade from both directions passed through Joppa. So like from the land and sea, it was major seaport. And Sennacherib in 701 BC came and took that over. You know, during the time of Second Kings. He took over. When you read about it, when King Hezekiah he took over some stuff when King Hezekiah was ruling. And you know, before King Sennacherib, of course, King Solomon had control. I think King Solomon came about as a king around like 900 something BC. All right, so let's get one more thing in the book of Acts about Joppa, because that was a big piece in the book of Acts, going into Cornelius with Peter. All right, so I'm gonna read verse 42. It says, and it was known throughout all Joppa, and many believed in the Lord. And it came to pass that he tarried many days in Joppa with one Simon, a tanner. All right. So you can see Peter, the Spirit had him go to Joppa just so Acts 10 can come about with Cornelius. All right. So let's go back to Jonah and let's read verse 4. All right. Let's read verse 4. It says, but the Lord sent out. So he got on the ship. You know, he's trying to run from the Lord. Didn't want to go to Nineveh and, you know, prophesy against it. The Lord said, nah, bruh. So verse 4 says, but the Lord sent out a great wind in the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea, so that the ship was like to be broken. All right. The ship was like to be broken. We're going to get Psalm 107 real quick, because, you know, the Lord be making storms, man. This is Psalms 107 and 25. It says, for he commandeth and raiseth the stormy wind, which lifteth up the waves thereof. We're going to keep Psalms 107 on deck. So again, that's Psalm 107 and 25. It says, for he commandeth and raiseth the stormy wind, which lifteth up the waves thereof. And that's exactly what happened in at Jonah 1 and 4. Since, you know, Jonah didn't want to go and, you know, keep the word of the Lord. Hey, man, okay, bet. You want to get on that ship? And I'm going to make a great tempest. All right. So verse 5, it says, then the mariners or mariners. All right. That's where you get, you know, today, the Marines from. The Marines work sea, land, All right. That's where you get the word marine animals, meaning like fish and things of that nature, whales and dolphins and stuff. Those are marine animals. It says, and cried every man unto his power, and cast forth the wares that were in the ship into the sea. All right. It says they cast the wares that were in the ship into the sea. Man, they're trying to get everything off of there. All right. They're trying to get all that off. So the wares is like the cargo that was on the ship, because they're trying to lighten the ship. It says to lighten it of them. They're trying to, take off that weight of the ship so it wouldn't sink. It says, but Jonah was gone down into the sides of the ship, and he lay and was fast asleep. Okay. So even before this, Jonah was a prophet. Okay. As we read in 2 Kings, the 14th chapter. Okay. He lay in the ship fast asleep. What does that remind you of? All right, let's get it. Let's have Matthew chapter 8. I'm going to say. Let's see. Matthew chapter 8 and 23 says, and when he was entered into the ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea. Exactly Psalm 107. The Lord commanded the tempest and the stormy wind to come, and shake the waves thereof. It says, and so much that the ship was covered with the waves, but he was asleep. Verse 25, and his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, Lord, save us. We perish. We're going to keep this on deck too. All right? Because it's kind of what happened to Jonah. All right? The men came and ran to Jonah, wondering why you ain't calling on your power, because all of them were. All right? Because they were afraid. So they started calling on their gods. All right? But Jonah was knocked out, meaning he ain't really had no worries. All right? Verse 6, it says, so the shipmaster came to him. All right? So the shipmaster came to him and said unto him, what meanest thou, O sleeper? Arise, call upon thy power. If so be that power will think upon us, that we perish not. Now we see that's in capital letters, but you got to think these men on the ship, they calling everyone to his God. All right, they probably calling on different gods, so they think all their gods are gonna come in conjunction, want to just save them all at the same time, type shit. So they're thinking if he calls on his, we'll get some extra power and maybe we'll have a better chance of living, you could say. But they not understanding what power Jonah was to call on. All right. So that brings me back to Psalms 107. This is Psalms 107. Let's go 3 verses down. Psalm 107 and 28. Then they cry unto the Lord in their trouble, and he bringeth them out of their distress. You see that? So let's see what happens in this. All right. So let's go to verse 7. It says, and they said every one to his fellow, come and let us cast lots. All right. That we may know who caused this evil is upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. All right. The lot fell on Jonah. So let's get a precept with these lots that you cast. You even cast lots on a day-to-day. I've cast a lot before. If you're not really sure, you let the Spirit discern what you should do. All right. So this is Proverbs chapter 16 and 33 says, the lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. You see, the Lord determines, and the cast in the lot that they cast fell on Jonah. The Lord determined that it was going to be on Jonah in the first place. As you can see right here, all the way from verse 1 to verse 7, Jonah been trying to get away, but there's no way to get away from the Lord. All right, the lot fell on you. All right. The reason why this tempest is going hard right now is because you're in the boat, because you're running away. because you don't want to preach in Nineveh. You see, there's no getting away. Wherever you go, the Lord has your number. All right, He can visit you any type of way. There's no getting away from the Lord. That's what you have to take, and there's no hiding from the Lord. That's what you have to take from this. You know, Cain tried to hide from the Lord. When you read Genesis, the 4th chapter, he went from it says he went from the presence of the Lord. Matter of fact, I'll get that real quick. Genesis chapter 4, I want to say it's like verse 16. Yep, and it says, and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, in the east of Eden. You see, he tried to go up in the presence of the Lord, but look, man, the Lord had his number. You know, the Lord got his ticket. Ultimately, we know Cain is, you know, goddamn Edomite spirit. All right, so let's go back to Jonah. I'm going to read verse 7 again. It says, and they said, every one to his fellow, come and let us cast lots, that we may know for whose cause this evil is upon us. See, they thinking this is evil, but what? The Lord can do evil and do good. When you read 1 Samuel, I think that's the 2nd chapter, when Samuel's mother, Hannah, was praying. All right. The Lord killeth and maketh alive, man. All right. And the scriptures also say, doesn't just paraphrasing, does the Lord not create evil as well? So it says, so they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. All right. So let's continue. To verse 8, it says, then said they unto him, tell us, we pray thee, for whose they start interrogating him, because the lot fell on him. Tell us, we pray thee, for who caused this evil upon us? What is thine occupation? And whence comest thou? What is thy country? And of what people art thou? Like, who are you? Where are you from? Why are you here? What do you do for a living? Why is the lot on you that all this is happening to us right now? They're trying to get to the bottom of it. They're interrogating him. All right. They need to know this. So I'm going to get examples of lots that were casted, and then the interrogation after it. This is 1 Samuel chapter 14, and I'm going to go to 41. This is with Jonathan and Saul. Jonathan was the son of Saul. So this is 1 Samuel 14 and 41. Therefore Saul said unto the Lord, the power of Israel, give a perfect lot, because we understand that Proverbs 16 and 33 says, you know, let the lot fall, whatnot, but the disposing is of the Lord. It says, and Saul and Jonathan were taken, but the people escaped. Verse 42. And Saul said, cast lots between me and Jonathan, my son. And Jonathan was taken. Then Saul said unto Jonathan, tell me what thou hast done. And Jonathan told him and said, I did but taste a little honey with the end of the rod that was in my hand, and lo, I must die. But see, after the lot was cast, the interrogation began. You see, tell me what thou hast done. All right, it's the same thing here. The lot was cast. Now they want to know. Now they're going to question. Since the lot fell on you, Jonah, I need to know these things. Okay, let me get Joshua, let's see, 7 and 19. Let's see. Yep. It says, Joshua said unto Achan, my son, give, I pray thee, glory to the Lord, power of Israel, and make confession unto him, and tell me now what thou hast done. Hide it not from me. You see that? That's a interrogation. Like, yo, just confess, just come straight. They're telling that to Jonah right here. And God dang it, Jonah answered every single one of these questions because Jonah knew. Jonah knew. All right. So let's go to verse 9. And this is a pivotal part in this. It says, and he said unto them, I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, Yahweh, the power of heaven, which hath made the sea in the dry land. You see? That he confirmed himself that he was an Israelite, and he feared the Lord, the power of heaven. Okay? Let's get Psalms 146 real quick. Psalms 146 and 5. It says, happy is he that hath the power of Jacob for his help, whose help is in the Lord, his power, or Yahweh his power, which made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that there is in that therein is, which keepeth the truth forever. You see that? Jonah, he even said that right there. He says, and I fear, okay? I fear the Lord. He didn't say, oh, my God is, Yahweh. No, it's like, I fear Yahweh. You see that? Because it's a prominent thing that you have fear for the Lord, because that is the start of wisdom. It says, in the Most High of heaven, which hath made the sea in the dry land. You see that? That's how you know he read the Psalms, okay? Because King David and Asaph were before Jonah. So he had the scripts. He had the scrolls. And he knew that the Lord made heaven and earth. Yes, that is a wise thing to understand. And not most people in today's, and now don't understand. They don't understand that Yahweh by Shem Yahushai made these things. See, that's a good thing to know, man. We're ahead of the game. Call out Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. All right. So he told him straight up. All right. Let me get another precept to that in the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 9 verse 6. It says, thou, even thou, art Lord alone. Thou hast made heaven, the heaven of heavens, with all their host, the earth, and all things that are therein, the seas, and all that is therein, and thou preservest them all, and the host of heaven worship thee. You see that? Okay. So let's go back to Jonah. Let's go to verse 10. All right. So verse 10, it says, then were the men exceedingly afraid. You see that? They understood who Yahweh was, and said unto him, why hast thou done this? Now, why were these men exceedingly afraid? Because these nations knew what Yahweh did during the time of Egypt. All right. It says, for the men knew that he fled from the presence of Yahweh, because he had told them. All right. So, hey, Jonah confessed to these men, and he owned up to what he actually did. All right. Which shows a little sign of integrity. Even though Jonah was like, man, I don't want to do this. You know what I'm saying? But you got to, man. Verse 11, it says, then said they unto him, what shall we do unto thee? So, like, man, what we going to do to you? Because if we don't do nothing, like, our ship is going to wreck. So in the midst of this conversation, you got to remember that there's still a sea going, like a stormy wind going on. It says that the sea may be calm unto us, for the sea wrought and was tempestuous. Wrought meaning it got stronger. All right. That thing was not backing down, man. I'll tell you that. All right. Verse 12, it says, and he said unto them, take me up and cast me forth into the sea. So shall the sea be calm unto you. For I know that for my sake, this great tempest is upon you. Let's get John, chapter 11 and 50 real quick. All right. And this is one of these high priests talking. I think one of the wicked ones, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Let me not say that. I got to do some research on it. So it's John 11:49, and one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, ye know nothing at all, nor consider that this is expedient for us, that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation and that the whole nation perish not. You see that? It's the same thing that's going on right here. So it says, Jonah, he said unto them, take me up and cast me forth into the sea. He's telling them literally, man, just throw me in the sea, man. He's like, I'm not going to be the one. Pretty much, I'm going to save your lives, because the Lord only wants me. If I stay on this boat, the Lord will take this boat with it, just to get me out of it. So just cast me over. The storm will stop, and y'all will be safe. But I'm going to go about my way to whatever the Lord has for me. It's the same thing Yahushai did for us, man. That's why we have to thank Yahushai. One man died for all of Israel to be saved. Yes, I said all of Israel. All right. So let me give you a caveat real quick, which means like a little message or warning. All right. Yes, all Israel's going to be saved, but 2/3 got to feel the pain first. That's simple. This is going to be elect 144 and 1/3 to be saved. But the 2/3 of Israel got to get that fire, that second death. But yes, they will come back through the loins of the elect 144, and then they'll be saved into the kingdom and be perfect. All Israel is going to be saved. All right? So, let's go back to Jonah 1 and 12. It says, and he said unto them, take me up and cast me forth into the sea, so shall the sea be calm unto you. For I know that for my sake this great tempest is upon you. So he understood why this storm was happening. It's because, hey, you could say he was being a little disobedient. All right? It says, nevertheless, pretty much anyway, the men rowed hard to bring it to the land, but they could not, for the sea wrought, and meaning got worse, and was tempestuous against them. You see, it just got worse and worse. And they, nevertheless, Jonah told them these, heathens be stupid sometimes and don't take heed of anything. It's like, bro, all right, that ain't gonna work. Stop. Just throw the dude over the boat into the sea, like he said, because these things, that goes to show you the lack of faith and the lack of fear that these heathens have for Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. All right. Let's go to Psalms 36 and 1. It says, the transgression of the wicked saved within my heart, that there is no fear of the Most High before his eyes. It's the same thing here. If they have fear of the Lord Yahweh, which really in verse 10 you kind of see they kind of did, but not a full fear. They would have just thrown him over right after he said that and just believed that it would happen. But nevertheless, they continue to row. And that just ain't going to happen according to this precept that I'm about to pull right now. Proverbs 21 and 30. It says, there is no wisdom nor understanding nor counsel against the Lord. You see, they think the wise thing to do is to keep rowing to find land. All right. But that wasn't the case. The Lord was showing that. So verse 14, let's move on to verse 14 and finish this all out. It says, wherefore they cried unto the Lord and said, we beseech thee, O Yahweh, we beseech thee, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not upon his innocent blood. For thou, O Yahweh, hast done as it has pleased thee. So they took Jonah and cast him forth into the sea, and the sea ceased from her raging. Then the men feared Yahweh exceedingly. Now there goes that full fear. And offered a sacrifice unto the Lord Yahweh, and made vows. Now the Lord Yahweh had prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights, going back to Matthew chapter 12 when Yahweh Shai said that. Okay? But pretty much that's an overview of Jonah, the first chapter, and Lord willing, I'll put up Jonah, the second chapter, when I get to it. All right? So, you remember, the synopsis, the overview of this thing is, there's no getting away from the Lord, and just do what the Lord says so you don't have to take the hard route. Our occupation, like these men were asking Jonah, what's your occupation, what's your country? This is it. We're Hebrew Israelites. We fear the Lord who made heaven and earth, and we're prophets. Okay? Simple and plain as that. Simple and plain as that. All right. So, Lord willing, y'all edified. I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, B'Shem, Yahweh Shai, B'Shem Achakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone to rule and teach well. Peace, love, salutation to the elect 144 first fruit. This is Brother Kasha Qual. Until next time, we'll say Shalom.